Hi everyone, this is a short presentation on relative clauses. So what is a relative clause? Well, it's used when we're adding information to a noun, usually. It's usually identifiable by a relative pronoun, and we have defining and non-defining relative clauses. What is a relative pronoun? Usually these. Okay, if you see these in the middle of a sentence, very often, but not always, it is a relative clause. Let's have a look at relative pronouns. So these two sentences: I passed the class, my friend recommended it. We want to combine these two together, so we'll get rid of the last part. So I passed the class. We're adding information on the class, so I passed the class which my friend recommended. So instead of the it at the end, that it is replaced by which, or that in this case. The woman is coming later. She taught me math last year. Let's get rid of that. She taught me math last year. The woman, who, we use who for people, taught me math last year, is coming later. So again, we're adding information in the first one on class and in the second one on the woman. Okay, so when we want to add information, we add in a relative pronoun like who or which, and we can add more information to the noun. So let's look at these sentences. The first one, the lady. Lady is obviously a person, so we're going to use who. The second one, I read the book. It's going to be which you recommended. Now, if you're speaking casually for people or for things, we can use that. But if you're writing, it's probably best not to use it. It's probably best to use who or which, because it's slightly more formal. For number 3, we have the beautiful weather is the reason why I chose California. Number 4, the man whose wife you are admiring is a wrestler. This shows possession, that he has something. And that's the student to whom, in this case, whom. Well, the student is an object pronoun, so we can use whom instead of who. Let's look at what I mean by that. In some of them, you can actually take them away. If it's an object pronoun, like with book here, we can take away that. I read the book you recommended. And same with number 3, beautiful weather is the reason I chose California. Let's look at why we can do that. So in each sentence, we have a subject or an object. Let's look at the first one. The lady who speaks Spanish. This is the relative clause, who speaks Spanish, and the lady is obviously the subject. So we can't get rid of that who. We need that who. Okay? But for the next one, I read the book that you recommended. So this is the relative clause, and it refers to book, and book is the object in this case. So we can actually take that out. I read the book you recommended. That's fine. And sometimes the sentence structure is slightly different. So the student to whom I gave a warning last term, okay, to whom I gave a warning last term, in this case, the student is actually the object of that clause. And if that's the case, we can use whom. Okay, so student here, I is the subject, gave is the verb, and the student is going to be the object, in which case we use whom. And possessive as well, the man whose wife you are admiring. This shows that that it shows possession of the noun that follows. Okay, all right. These are some common errors that people sometimes make. Here you can see them. Whom is the pronoun in this case. Okay, object pronoun, so we don't need them as a second object pronoun. Okay, one pronoun is enough. We don't need to repeat it. With the next one, the person whom I went to the movies fell asleep. Well, you go to the movies with somebody, so we need that preposition in there. So it's going to be with whom I went to the movies fell asleep. Don't forget that preposition. And the last one, obviously it shows possession, so the person whose books are on the table. Okay, so be aware of whether it's an object pronoun or whether it shows possession. Now these are all defining relative clauses. Let's have a look at non-defining relative clauses. A quick question for you. Which sentence indicates the whole class wrote the letter? So for A, the students who got high grades wrote the teacher a kind letter. In this case, this is commenting on all the students. All the students got high grades, and in this case, they all wrote the teacher a kind letter. But in B, this is a defining relative clause. This is telling you which students are being spoken about. The students who got high grades. Only the students who got high grades wrote a letter. Okay, so A indicates all the students, and B is a defining relative clause, tells you which students are being discussed. And this is kind of important generally for non-defining relative clauses. Non-defining relative clauses, what they're going to do is they're going to just comment on the nouns in the sentence. So Mr. Brown is at the party. Mr. Brown, who I haven't seen since high school, is at the party. This isn't defining who Mr. Brown is, it's just giving you some additional information on Mr. Brown. You can take it out of the sentence and the sentence still works fine. I saw Mr. Brown at the party, which was nice. Okay, so we can comment on the situation as well. So again, we're just adding information with non-defining relative clauses. And as you can see, there's a comma before the relative pronoun. A little bit more information on them. It's for non-essential information. You can take these out or put them into sentences as you wish. We don't use that, okay, only use the WH pronouns, and we use commas to separate them. With defining relative clauses, we don't use commas. And you can also take out the WH pronoun as well. So for example, Mr. Krugman, who is a Nobel Prize winning economist, wrote the article. You can take out who is and just have a Nobel Prize winning economist. Okay, some basic information on relative clauses. I hope it was useful, and you can get to practicing them in your essays and in your grammar book. Good luck.